Shabbat Shalom, everyone. So I was actually trying to figure out what I was thinking about tonight. All these amazing kids. I actually tried to borrow a tiara, a crown, but I wasn't allowed to wear it up here. I was remembering going back to my days raising my own children, playing Pretty Little Princess. But actually, I do want to show you all something because I'm certain you've all seen this toy. Now, to be fair, when we tried to get this on the screen, it was actually a video, but we couldn't figure out a way tonight to get the video to play without the YouTube unpredictable advertisements. So instead you get a still picture, but I want you to just imagine each of those little segments falling down. You may have even had one as a kid. I remember actually buying one from a souvenir shop with my family on vacation some 50 years ago. And 5 decades later, I still remember being mesmerized by the movement of the squares and the magical way they seem to appear and disappear at each level of that toy. What I didn't know then, and I know tonight, and I only learned it this week, is that the toy is actually called Jacob's Ladder. And the name honors the text of this week's Torah portion. Amazingly, there is even some research that toy dates all the way back to ancient Egypt, possibly created by the Israelites when they were enslaved under Pharaoh. Now, in the biblical story from this week's Torah portion, Jacob is traveling from Beersheba to Haran, and he stops to rest in the middle of the desert for the night. He picks up a rock, just like you'd do if you were camping in the desert. You just take a rock and he uses it as a pillow. And when he falls asleep that night, he has an amazing dream. Jacob dreams of a ladder that stretches all the way from earth up to the heaven. And on that ladder, there are angels going up and down on every rung. At the top of the ladder, God appears, reaffirming the covenant with Abraham and Isaac, and now passing it on to Jacob. And God promises Jacob in that dream that his descendants will be numerous, that we, the Israelite people, will inherit the land, and that we will bring blessings to all nations of the earth. So, when Jacob wakes up that morning, he takes that pillow that was a rock, and he puts it up on its end, and he sets it up like a little totem, and he says something amazing. One of the most famous lines of the entire Torah. God is in this place, and I almost missed it. So, it is easy for all of us to empathize with Jacob's surprise. Remember where the story takes place in the biblical narrative. It's right after the tension and trauma of Jacob and Esau's sibling rivalry. Jacob was forced to flee his home, and he likely felt disconnected from his family, from his faith, from his community. But in that one moment, alone in the middle of the desert, Jacob encounters God. And the story reminds us that when you least expect it, you should expect it. In difficult and challenging times, we actually can discover a connection to something bigger than us, just like Jacob did. Sacred, special moments often appear in our world when we are least prepared for them. So, inspired by the toy that I showed you at the beginning of the sermon, Jacob's Ladder, and our Tefillah kids who are tonight our future, I thought I would share with you a few ways that you might try to find those moments of connection, inspired by what Judaism teaches us. The first example, the first moment can come because Jewish tradition teaches us to recite blessings when we encounter the beautiful realities of God's creation. Like seeing the ocean or hearing thunder or spotting a rainbow. There are special prayers for each one of those moments. So I thought, with snow now arriving here in Michigan, it might be time for you or me to step outside and experience something extraordinary. A sunrise. The glint of sunlight on a single snowflake as it falls, or just a beautiful winter night sky. Rabbi Abraham Joshua Heschel actually called that experience radical amazement. It was the ability to see wonderful things in the world around us. A second idea that you might try is because of what the Torah teaches to love our neighbor as ourselves. And you can do this. You can put it into action by participating in a food drive or helping somebody nearby to your home who needs just a little extra help, maybe somebody who's elderly. Or this December, you can participate in our Do Good December. Next week, throughout the week, and at the end of the month, you can participate in any of our social justice programs, like the Do Good Date Night Family Edition on Christmas Day itself. If you're in town, join us to partner with Jimmy's Kids, an organization downtown that delivers gifts to families in need in the city of Detroit. Those acts of kindness cultivate gratitude and purpose, and it connects us to not only other people, but to God. Thirdly, the Talmud reminds us to try to recite 100 blessings a day. Now that might seem hard, but if you think about it, it's not the reaching of the 100 blessings that matters, it's trying to find something special in everyday moments. As a family, maybe you could share one thing you're grateful for each night before you go to bed. A word, a laugh, something special that happened that day. If you can practice that process of being grateful for things that happen to you, you can turn ordinary moments into those moments of connection and gratitude. And of course, there's one more thing. I'm surprised nobody else mentioned it yet in our service. A place where we might see God right here in Michigan this year. It's the Lions' record. If you are not convinced that God exists, then you are not paying attention. So, if you can just try one of those activities, if you can do something special, if you can find a way to see God, you might, like Jacob in our Torah portion, discover that the sacred is closer than you might realize. Sometimes you just need to open your eyes to see it. And actually, that is the deeper lesson of Jacob's ladder, the toy. Because those wooden squares, they tumble, they flip, and they reveal that they are all somehow hiddenly connected. One piece lands on the next, like rungs on a ladder. And in the end, it's a reminder that when life feels a little bit disconnected, chaotic, when things aren't making sense, there actually could be a special divine rhythm underneath it all. So pause, reflect, open yourself to awe and gratitude and giving. And you might find that your life, like Jacob's, is part of something much, much greater. So just as I was mesmerized by that simple toy of my childhood, may we all rediscover the wonder and the sacred in our lives and help people around us to find it as well. Shabbat shalom.